need a whole lot of possibilities for seeing that in fact the pressure is put on so that it does come out of public health funds, whatever. But you know, it's all come down at once, and we're real defensive. And if you can understand that.
See, I think though that it's all tied together. You know, is that the reason that there's a problem of you know, fees for services, you know, is because you're tied to funds from the state, and the reason, you know, and they're saying too that you're going to have you know, to do this, or else you're not going to get your funds. The reason that you can't say, well, we want to even negotiate about it is because there's not enough education in the community about what ODC is and what the problems of ODC are, and you know, what kind of support is needed. And the same thing with, you know, with getting interns and doctors here is because there's no way for the community to support ODC to put pressure on these people, you know. And so it's all interrelated, that you know, there's a need for the community support. And I think that, you know, the basic thing that has to be done, it has to be, you know, talked about people at ODC, is that ODC is a community health service, and that it's, you know, its orientation is non-capitalistic, and that it's a free clinic, and that, you know, the position of ODC should be uncompromising. You know, and if that means that you have to, you know, cut back some services right now until you can, you know, until you can get enough people to put pressure on the state to change that, then I think that's what has to be done.
I think the services are already cut back as far as they can go, though. I think. What can you do besides? I mean, well,
you can eliminate the entire medical service.
There's not that much of it anyway.
For people who get treatment, they think there are. I'll tell you right now. You'll go out and talk to someone who comes in and gets that treatment.
Yeah, but okay, but how many other people could you find that called ODC and said, I need to see a doctor, and then they get the response, well, we're not going to have one in until next Thursday. You know?
That's
now,
at least once.
If Open Door Clinic is supposed to be someone's alternative, you know, what kind of alternative is it when they turn to it and there's no response?
I think what you're saying is there's little response. There is response. It's as much as can be gotten together at this point. You know, and it's up to us and the community, you know, everybody together to get more together, you know, to help it more. But cutting back isn't going to help people who are already, you know, we're debating that ourselves. You know, that's the whole issue with the third-party payment thing. Do we want to sell out and maybe charge $1 for services? Will the people in the community rather pay $1 rather than see the clinic fold completely? How can I answer that being on staff? I don't know.
You know, about getting doctors who go into third-party payments like Echo or St. Stephen's or Cleveland. They'll provide us with full-time physicians, round-the-clock nurses, a pharmacist, a laboratory, extended facilities, so we can do more with what we have, but then we have to charge. And we may be able to get away with whatever we can for a few years or so before we either eliminate it altogether or say, well, I'm sorry, but you're still paying these people all this money, and you're charging them, et cetera, et cetera. Sure,
that's a real internal conflict here.
Yeah. I mean, how many, you know, sure, we only get, right now we have one doctor who comes here religiously every other week. And we used to have some residents, I don't know, I haven't been here that long. I have a list of about 6 doctors. If I can get through their receptionist after 2 days of trying, and if after I finally do get to them, depending on what kind of mood they're in, I might be able to talk them into coming in and donating a night every 2 months. This is their time, man. They're volunteering. They're all, you know, we're lucky we have 6 out of the several hundred doctors in this area.
There's, you know, a doctor here every day.
Sure, there should be.
We'd be all too happy.
Okay, is the reason that there isn't though is because the Open Door Clinic is blacklisted by the
to take third-party payments. That's
okay.
why.
Is there another reason though in that interns can't do any practice here?
Yeah, because what you do here is totally counteract the shit that they put in their heads over there. They walk in here and Linda's the head of the medical clinic and everybody works together and they have to train medical students and they have to work with all lay people.
The response we got from a newsletter that said we supported the farm workers was that we lost 2 doctors who had come here for years. You support the farm workers? My God! Give them lettuce then instead of giving them penicillin. That's a quote.
And it's pigs everywhere.
Yep. The medical profession is chopped with them. It's as full as the police department with people like that. You know, like they discourage that, but the only answer to that is putting pressure on the university. I think what you get from them is that we're not, you know, they treat university people and that's their community and that we're not part of that. We might have to go
We
to the
can't even
public
get reciprocity from student health. We go to them, we say, hey, look, we see 30% of students. You know, how about trading us some services, giving us some lab facilities and some, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, but that's on his time. That isn't.
On his time, yeah.
And it's counted as a mark against him as far as his practicing medicine in this city, that he gives time here.
Are all the other neighborhood health clinics? Well, first we press the question. Echo, St. Stephen's, Cleveland, all those places charge people money.
Yes, they do.
Even if it's
On a
minimal, they
sliding
have a
scale.
system set up to send bills, which is just the beginning.
And they get like some federal grant to like make up.
They get like from welfare and social security.
They
that kind of
also,
thing.
they also mean, it also means that to go in there and to get in on that sliding scale, you have to come up with rent receipts, you have to come up with your social security number, you have to come up with
Bank book.
identification, your checkbook.
What other clinics do you know of in this country that provide free or even sliding scale for people and yet aren't hooked into the data bank or the data bank mentality or something?
LA Free Clinic, not Berkeley Free Clinic. Berkeley Free Clinic.
Very free, very
So-
very
They-
few
they-
free
they-
clinics. The LA Free Clinic and the Berkeley Free Clinic
Only the
are
ones
talking
big
about
rock stars
charging
do
too.
shows for and make lots of money for.
Right now they would be.
But they're all federally funded. It's just, you know,
These
like,
free clinics are?
yeah, Haight Ashbury
Yeah.
is the most heavily
And so those people are
federally
hooked
funded.
into the data bank thing and the.
But see, they're just putting the screws to it. 5 years ago, when we got the funding, every year they put on a little more, a little
Yeah.
more, a little
They've
more.
had to
until-
close one of the clinics in Cleveland because of it,
Because the people who staffed it wouldn't cooperate with that kind of program.
and they lost their funding.
Along with this whole medical thing is the hassles that we're having in the counseling area with just all kinds of pressures about doing more paperwork. I mean, they sent us a week or so ago, 12 forms that they expect us to use, and recently I got another thing on what order the forms should go in the chart. And, we don't know, we're kind of like, we're trying to compromise so that we can stay open and yet not sell out completely. At times, we're tempted to just say, like, this is it, we're not going to do any more, close this down, but then, we really do need a response from the community. Which direction should we take? So, as a staff, we've been really feeling real skitsy because we've been put in a schizophrenic situation where we don't know what to do.
What has ODC as a staff done to elicit support from other community organizations? Or
Not
to
much,
raise,
because
you know,
almost all the, you mean this local community? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
like to raise consciousness about the struggle that's going on here, The article that was in the Free Press, like, even remotely covers some of the stuff that we've talked about here, And, the food co-op meetings, people come and ask for money all the time, but, no one, we're...
I do come, Steve. I
Oh,
do.
no.
And I try, and sometimes I feel like everybody's problems are as important as everybody else's. And when we do have a staff here and we do have 150 to 200 volunteers here, I feel like maybe we ought to really be doing it here instead of coming there. I get caught in a whole double buying thing. When people were there asking for money, I had come hoping to ask for some money that night too, and I couldn't do it because they needed it so much more than we did.
I'm not
even exist.
I'm not saying anything about Open Door coming and asking for money, but it's, when the food co-op gives away money, there's always a lot of people there, And it's a good way to reach a lot of people, a lot of different community organizations to say, we've got a clinic in our community and it's going to fold because, we're getting fucking run out of business. Which is what's happening, Open Door Clinic is getting run out of business. It's getting shoved around and pushed aside, And it's just something, that if you have pride in your community, you just don't let happen. And if it's Ohio State that's doing it, you don't let them do it. And if it's, the state of Ohio that's doing it, you don't let them do it. And you just don't let it happen, And if that means sitting down 150 volunteers and 20-odd staff, and, and hassling, and well, I didn't mean it like odd staff, but, I wouldn't put it past them, and saying, we have to take a position on this, and if that means taking, a strong and militant position on this, then that's what it takes. And if that means going around and getting support from other organizations, then that's what it takes. You know, if Open Door Clinic is worthwhile and it's going to serve a need and it's worth all the time, this 5 years that people have spent with this clinic, then it's worth that much more struggle. And
Well, see, that's another hassle. Like, do we stop doing what we're doing and spend our time trying to get funds and trying to get things together? Or do we, try to do our work and do that on the side? Sally and I have been spending time trying to find a new director, and that's been, a real drain. We can't do everything, and that's another problem. What do we choose?
Well, if you had 200 volunteers in here at the same time, then you wouldn't be able to take care of anybody else. There wouldn't be enough room.
When I go to talk to people at the tenant union and at Tradewinds and at other places, and I try to bring these things up, people want to know where I've been and what I've been doing. And okay, I don't communicate the best possible way because of a lot of things, but people want to know why I'm not here and why I'm not doing things here too,
The question that Marilyn was raising about, how to divide the time, and it's a fundamental question that any organization has to be able to answer. It's fine to be militant, but and we need to be. We need to be firm about what we're doing and have confidence in what we're doing and think that we're going to be able to do it. But at the same time, money is a real thing, And if money has to be raised, it's a problem with that. I can't make money, any more than anybody else, but. At least legally. And I don't know. I'd like to hear some talk about more talk about where we're going to go from here. Who needs to be more involved? Who's not involved in terms of other organizations? If we're talking about some kind of broad campaign, we want to look into various avenues. We need to decide, what kind of budget we need. A lot of these things people probably already know. And it's just, how does ODC become more integrated or more in contact with not only other organizations, but the neighborhoods themselves around here better? And these are questions that take a long time to answer. One thing that popped in my mind, popped in earlier, and I guess I might as well just say it, is that, and I don't know what people's salaries are here. How many people in this room are being paid, through Open Door, and I don't know what the level of their salary is, but I've been told by a lot of people that it's well above what is, quote, community minimum wage or something like that. And I don't know if out of the money that already exists, if people were willing to take cutbacks in their own salaries. I know most people here probably spread the money around to other people that don't have money. I'm not saying people are living in the lap of luxury that work here.
Can I ask a question relevant to that?
Well, let me finish my comment on it, and that was what I was saying about I don't know how high salaries, how efficiently the money that's coming into this place is being used towards building what you and me and everybody here would like to see.
I'd just like to ask if it's possible for community residents to look at the books of the Open Door Clinic. Thank you.
I think the proposal that came in today from Steve and Sue poses maybe part of the solution or maybe part of where we need to look in terms of a communication vehicle for interaction between the community and what happens at Open Door. And it can be a mutual exchange, an educational exchange that could draw people in to the process of Open Door and working at Open Door, and even getting educated in how to, help each other in the mental health area of our own community, how we can be supportive, how we can, literally support that person. Because it was rather obvious that one person couldn't do it alone, and some people weren't there when they really needed to be there. And I'm not saying that there is any fault resting more heavily on Open Door than on the community, but it really seems to be shared between both. And it's just too bad, that they had to take a situation like this to draw the community and Open Door together into trying to communicate like this. It's too bad it couldn't have happened a lot sooner. It might have solved some of the other problems we're having right now. I'd like to know what some various people's feelings are on that proposal. Have people in here had an opportunity, pretty much most of us, to at least skim it, get the general idea?
I thought in basically skimming it, I tried to kind of look back through it, that it sounds really good. I think as a staff member, we talked about improving community relationships long enough. We need to do something about it, and we need to set some priorities, and that is, as far as I'm concerned, one of them, because of the situation that we're in. we are in a crisis ourselves with whether we're going to be able to stay open. I really like this last part about being a health service center that is not dependent on federal, state, county, or city funding unless we can have complete control over that. And that may mean, I think what we need to do is get together with the community, and the consequence of trying to do that mean that we fold completely. That is a possibility. And do we want to take that chance? But, you know, do we want to go and, with community support, say to different people, say to the feds when they come here, look, we're not going to do it. We're just not going to put up with your bullshit. We're not going to do the paperwork, and see what happens.
Take your funding.
I don't even think there's any debate about what happened for saying.
Okay,
We're past that point.
We know what happened at
Well,
Vita.
wasted.
Okay, I don't think that the people here would do what happened at Vita. Maybe you don't know what happened at Vita. What happened was they fired the board, asked who on the staff would be willing to stay. The whole staff stayed, and they're now...
Is it a public or private thing, or automatically by Vita?
Vita is the methadone maintenance program.
Right.
They were fired by the Comprehensive Drug Program for non-compliance.
An arm of state government?
Pardon?
An arm of state government?
Federal.
The arm of the federal government. The staff was rehired, and they are a part of Columbus Area Community Mental Health Center. I wouldn't do that, okay? I'll go back and work in the hospital and wear a uniform and punch a time clock and deal with the situation the way I know it is, knowing that I can't change it.
We'd all quit, and they'd give 15 social workers over there at school who wanted to come in here and set up third-party payment plans and nice free buildings to do it. That's what happened.
Well, I think
The county owns it, and we rent it for $1 a year.
I think a lot of people here might not really realize, like, you know, people that work with the Free Press or maybe with the tenancy and whatever, maybe just how many ties this place has with the government that other organizations don't around the community. I think that might be something that would be, you know, found out. I think this organization, compared to other, community organizations around here, is much more dependent and much more connected with the government. And we should consider that and think about it.
Whether that's a positive or a negative thing to have that many connections.
It's already apparent that it's negative.
So when you deal with a medical problem, then you're dealing with more of a county or state or federal type of thing. That's
If
what you're
they say to you, well, we can give you services for lots of doctors, we can give you lots of nurses, we can give you lots of, things and all, but, what that means is that you've got to give your identification to this computer bank in Washington, and what all that implies. And what that implies to me is that ODC is taking a position of selling out, of being bought off.
Well, it's like to give any services at all, it's either if it's either close down or do it,
You see, it's like it's just you have to look at things, I mean, I don't know, you don't have to, but when maybe not, it may not be a good example, but I think it is. That, when Food Co-op first got started, there were like, 6 families involved, and, a few people, and as they got more money and more community support together, the amount of money they were able to generate, the amount of food that they would be able to, the amount of, material goods that they would be able, to turn over and to serve the community increased. There was a direct...
Okay, but
they have a
medical
commodity.
services aren't like that.
They're not a commodity.
They're not a commodity. Counseling services and medical services do not generate money.
But drugs like penicillin, like, Band-Aids, like ACE bandages, like things like that, are commodities. Like the time that you have to pay for a medical staff person being a doctor is a commodity.
Okay, but then we get right back to where we were when we started this conversation with the fact that when it hits an emergency, do you have the money or don't you? And do you end up in a state-supported institution that has the service because they are willing to comply, or do you not?
Steve, the Food Co-op bought food at one price and sold it at a higher price, and that's how they were able to generate the funds to give away money to other people in the community. If this organization were to buy medical service as a commodity, which I feel it is, and sell it at a higher price, the people who we are trying to serve would not be able to afford it and would be left as they are in the mainstream of society to die or to be injured on their own without recourse to any supplication at all. So they're not completely analogous for that reason, that a free clinic is a free clinic and it's not a clinic for profit, which the food co-op basically is. It's a food store. It makes 10% or whatever. And that's where it generates its funds from. This loses money. This buys, whether it's doctors' times or nurses' times or whatever, it buys it. Maybe it's donated, maybe it's for free, but it buys it. And then it gives it away. That's an entirely different type of organization.
You're not dealing with $50 an hour personnel when you're dealing with food co-op, you know, box boys or whatever. And it's hard to just get, like they said, doctors to come in and say, okay, we'll volunteer 3 hours a week and we'll take 10% off. That's like the co-op does, you know, it just doesn't work that way. But, you know, like I went to the tenants union for a friend of mine, and what they were dealing with was alternatives to. And a lot of times there's alternatives to paperwork, like how tight you check Social Security numbers, or how tightly you check names, or, you know, data that's given in. As far as, you know, like how strict the compliance has to be with federal regulations.
I think that's what we're doing now. We have been we've been trying to comply, but screw them every chance, you know. It's like we're doing as little as we can.
They keep coming in and complaining more and more about being more specific in
They know we're doing that.
And,
You know, look at this stuff. You know you're trying to please us, but you're not.
It's just like at this point, all these things that we've been just pulling off for 5 years are catching up with us too. Like they didn't used to have this. They gave us money, they came in once a year, said this is cute.
Because they had a war going on that people were protesting, there was a lot of, you know, community interest, or at least able to group large groups of people together to complain about things. Now there isn't.
The last people they're going to give money to is federal funding tightens, is somebody that gives away medical.
For sure.
But the whole, like, maybe it's not so bad then to take $1, you know, but you do that and then you get into third-party payments.
$15 for initial interview, for sure.
Which in one way, some people say is just the other side of the card. We're taking federal funds anyway, so why not take Blue Cross money and welfare money? Which is fine too, except most of the people that come here are not on welfare, get part-time jobs here and there to keep going, don't have any medical care from their jobs, so it doesn't apply to.
I think that as much of this as we can have together for the director, I think we should do that.
How soon's the next Free Press coming out? What's the deadline?
The 12th,
The 12th of September?
Yeah. It's on paper.
It's too bad. It would be nice if the Free Press could, like, I mean, one way to organize your thing would be if the Free Press or something, you know, would...
No, it'll be out the 17th.
70s, that for a lot of space being taken up for, like, a more thorough analysis of...
There's plenty of space available if, you know, if we get article and information, you know.
There's nothing pasted down yet.
Anybody have any suggestions?
16 pages of open door. I think that...
Day of the week that would be a good day.
I think evenings are better.
How about like
Yeah.
third Monday?
Well, it shouldn't be on
How
the 15th.
about the 8th of September? That's a Monday night.
It's about 12 days.
Yeah.
What is that?
8th of September, it's a Monday night.
Board of Directors meeting
Next evening. What is the relationship of board of directors in this place? Are they necessary for the kind of meeting we're talking about, or?
We have two of our board members here,
Questions up?
Dick and Jerry.
Dick Knapp is coming in late. I don't know the gist of this, what it is we're saying. Is it too late, or is it necessary for the board to be involved? So I can't really respond to that unless I could get a little more of a feel. Perhaps Jerry, having been here, might have more of an idea of what it is we're talking about. The board certainly is necessary when we talk about the clinic in relationship to various funding agencies. There has to be a legal entity that can contract for monies, providing services, etc., all that kind of thing. If we're talking about a different level of support for the clinic, it's not perhaps legally necessary. However, I'm sure that there would be
It's more the open door clinic as a part of the community and community organizations. Like, I don't think the meeting is going to be surrounded by funding as much as services and community help, you know, as a community organization. And that's what seems like what this whole talk has been about is...
You're saying that the sort of support we're talking about would not be in dollars, but
no, we're not talking about
in services, or I'm not sure what else it could be.
Well, support
things
from other
that
organizations.
the community can't do for the clinic.
Community feedback into the Open Door and ways that Open Door could deal better with the community. See, that seems to be what this
Yeah, but one of the things we're gonna be talking
ultimately
about
is funding them
Right.
for sure.
is getting into third-party payments, which that's, the board has the ultimate decision on that, so that's why I think they'd be important.
That raises another question, it's something that I, and having two board members here, maybe it could be answered, and that is the relationship between the staff and the board and, the flow of decision making. Can the staff reject a decision made by the board? Does the staff have to enforce decisions made by the board? Does the board do things totally on its own, irrespective of, well, I just made it up. Whatever of what, the staff decides, what is the relationship between the
Well, I
staff and
think
the board?
that the thing, the word that I spoke of, the concept of a contract, an agreement to accept funds and provide services, places the board under an obligation to provide those services. I mean, we have, in our existence as a board, we have said we will do this in return for the money. So if the board feels that in order to carry out the contract, that certain things just have to be done, I suppose that we would have to insist that things would be done.
How many members of the board are there, sir?
The exact number, I really can't tell you the exact number. Our
Approximation.
They're about 20. Our maximum is in the neighborhood of 25. We have had some resignation.
How many, about what percentage of this group is resident in the university area community? Do you have any idea?
The ongoing representation, I'm not sure. We had attempted.
I agree, it's late though.
I wanted to mention that too before Sally brought it up, is that as a council supervisor and as part of the staff and as a result of this discussion, we will make an effort. There are going to be times, I think, everybody's life to talk about it, but we will make an effort, especially in that area, to make sure that we have checkout alternatives and get back with people when people invite us in if it's possible. And we will discuss this with the rest of the volunteer councilors.
Could more copies of this be prepared and passed out on the 8th? Because as a statement itself, I think it's a pretty sound statement just as it reads now about the attitudes about the community health services and stuff. And the folks did bring it here to discuss, and it hasn't really gotten completely aired.